Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Matt. Sorry it has been a while, but I am back with a microphone, so hopefully that helps. But today I wanted to share with you an amazing surprise that my mom was able to pull off. She, for Christmas, got me some super amazing Malazan stuff that I love so much. I think it's the most meaningful, amazing Christmas gift that I've ever received. So I'm just going to show that off real quick. And then after that, we will get into some of the things I've been reading recently. So, first up, I had some footage of me opening all of these, but unfortunately it's corrupted, which really sucks. But I'm just gonna show you them this way instead. So, first up, we have this amazing hand-drawn map of the entire Malazan world. We have Genabacus up here, 7 cities, Alether down here. This is super gorgeous. It's aged, it's beautiful, and so I'm going to get it framed. And also, this is my favorite version of the Malazan map because there are a couple different arrangements of the continents, but I think this one is the best one. So I love this. I'm going to put it in my room once it's framed. I'm also going to leave a link to all of these people's shops down below in case you want to get yourself some Malazan or other fantasy stuff as well. So next up we have some amazing portraits of some fan art of some Malazan characters that I want to show off. So, number one, we have this beautiful drawing of Icarium. I think this is super cool. And it's a really good likeness. I actually really buy this being Icarium. I think it's great. Along with that, we have this beautiful Carsa Orlong right here. I'm experimenting with whether I want to have a glass on top or just leave them open like this. But yeah, this is Carsa. I think this is pretty good too. The only thing is his face isn't as cracked as you would expect, but I think this is a fantastic drawing as well. And then we have my two favorites, which I'm going to have facing each other, probably. I want to figure out a way to somehow feature these in my videos, but I don't think there's anywhere I can like hang them where you'd be able to see, unfortunately. But we have these, which are super amazing. First up, we have Gothos right here. I really like that this is in profile, and what's great about that is it matches this Talan eye, so I'm going to have them facing each other once they're hanged up. But these are beautiful. I really like this Gothos. And then I think this Talan eye looks like the one that is protecting Hatan's kids in the final books. So these are really great. So those are super beautiful. Like I said, their information will be down in the description below. And then the last thing that my mom was able to pull off, which is super amazing, is Stephen Erickson. He lives or is from Victoria, BC, in Canada. And I was actually born there, lived there till I was about 4 or 5. And we lived really close to this bookstore called Monroe Books. And turns out Erickson will actually come in occasionally and do book signings. So my mom got me my favorite Malazan book, Reaper's Gale, and she got it signed by Erickson himself, saying to Matthew, "Thank you for being such a big fan of my Malazan series and supporting me through your YouTube channel, Books Rebound. Plus, Reaper's Gale is your favorite." So, I absolutely love this. I'm going to cherish this forever. I don't think I really have any signed books. I think I just have Reaper's Gale now, which is amazing. And then I have Daughter from the Dark by the Diachenkos. I have that signed. They sent that to me because they liked my very embarrassing Vita Nostra review. But yeah, so those are all of these super amazing gifts that my mom got me for Christmas. Thank you so much, Mom. I love them more than anything. But with that done, I just wanted to update you since it's been quite a while with some of the things that I've been reading recently. I'm not going to talk too much in depth about all of these, but I'm gonna go through the list and tell you which ones were my favorites, because there are actually quite a few 5-star books here. So, not that long ago, I was watching a YouTube video, and this guy recommended a series of books by Kate Elliott, who's an author that I've had some success with in the past, and it's quite an old series. I think it's like 20, 25 years old, something like that, which I guess isn't that old. But so I read the first 2.5 books in the trilogy. I really, really enjoyed the first one. That is The King's Dragon by Kate Elliott. That one was really, really good. It's very classic feeling, as you'd expect from the time period. Um, but it's about this woman, her dad dies. She's been on the run for ages because she is being chased by magical forces, and her dad dies. She gets sold into slavery, and things happen from there. She ends up becoming the king's messenger, and the story kind of takes off. So I really, really enjoyed the first book in the series. I thought it was very cool. But then I read the second book, and it kind of started dragging a bit. It's very, very, very religious, made up religion, but it's very reminiscent of Christianity. And I wasn't the biggest fan of all of the things that happen in the book. So that's Prince of Dogs, and then the final book is The Burning Stone. I'm about halfway through it and struggling, but hopefully I will end up finishing it at some point. Then I read a surprising book that's kind of been on my radar for quite a while. It's The First Girl Child by Amy Harmon. This was a book that I didn't really know anything about, but basically it's this kind of Vikingish society. There are like clans of warriors and then one king, and the king is replaced by a different clan every so often once he dies. And so the book is about 2 siblings, and in the beginning of the book, one of the siblings, the sister, comes and she's pregnant, she's giving birth, and she dies giving birth. And with her death, she ends up putting a curse on the entire land. No girl children will be born from then on. And that curse ends up really, really taking hold. But then eventually there is a girl child. She is born, but she's kind of stolen. She's not who you think the parents are. And so she's stolen, she's raised as the princess to the daughter, and then so the sister gives birth to a boy, and he kind of grows up protecting this girl child who has been stolen and is being raised in place of the king's dead daughter. And so this boy, he's protecting Alba as they grow up together. And it's actually a really, really nice story. I gave it, I think, 4 stars. It wasn't anything super amazing, but I did really, really enjoy reading it. I thought it was pretty good. So that was a good book. I read 2 books by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I had read them before quite a while ago, but this is his Shadow of the Apt series. Tchaikovsky is a really, really cool and creative author. The first book in the series is Empire in Black and Gold, followed by Dragonfly Falling, and I think there are like 10 or 14 books in the series, something crazy like that. But the book takes place in this world where there are different races of people, and these races are like kind of based on different insects, different kind of insect traits. And so there are dragonflies, there are people, and they can just kind of have like energy wings sprout from their back so they can fly. There are flykinden, and they're very, very small. They're used as messengers. There are moths, beetles, etc. And there are wasps. And the wasp empire is kind of invading the lowlands city by city. And it's a very, very cool series. It's cool seeing all of these different traits that people possess. All of the people from a single ant city, for example, are able to communicate telepathically and stuff like that. And so it's a very, very creative series, and I like it so far. I'm going to start the 3rd book before too long. Then I read We Lie with Death by Devin Madsen. The first book is We Ride the Storm, and that was a book that I thought was I feel like We Read the Storm is a great book for people who are new to fantasy. It's very, very easy to get into. It's not too complicated. It's a like pretty introductory series to fantasy if you're not familiar with it. And I also think it's kind of a good bridge between YA and adult because it's not too serious, it's not too grim or anything, but it's certainly like a step up from YA in terms of kind of seriousness. And so we are following kind of three societies really. There's the Chiltish people, and then down below there is an Asian-inspired empire, which I cannot quite remember the name of. This Chiltean woman with magical powers, sort of, she has another person in her head, almost like DID. She has this alter living in her head, but she's what's called a Death Walker. And so there are two souls inhabiting a body, and if she touches a corpse, she can she can put her kind of other soul into this body to possess it, which is very cool. And she is basically tasked with killing this guy, Leo Bilius, and it's kind of supposed to spark a war between these two people. Along with that, we are following Miko Tai. She is the princess to the Asian Empire, and her brother is out doing some shenanigans, and she is kind of trying to prove that she deserves to be heir after her father dies. And then the third kind of society that we're following is there are a bunch of Mongol-inspired people, and they live on the steppe. They are just super integrated with their horses. Their horses are the most important thing to them, and these people are being used by the Chilteans as an army. They're kind of sold into slavery. They're not being treated quite right, and we're following these three different groups. And the first book was really it was good. It was better than good, but it wasn't quite great. I think I gave it 3.75 stars or maybe 4 stars. I really enjoyed it overall, but it wasn't anything revolutionary. But the second book was a massive step up. I gave that 4.5 stars. It's definitely worth reading the series. It's really great. Then basically everything else I'm going to talk about are 5-star books. There is The Stone Knife by Anna Stevens. This is a kind of Mesoamerican inspired series. There's the Empire of Songs, and they're ruled by a kind of god emperor guy who has magic powers. The song is this thing that permeates the entire society, and these people worship creatures called the Holy Sitatme. They're kind of amphibian creatures that live in the rivers, and they have a siren song, essentially. They're like amphibian humanoids, kind of like if you mix a frog and a human together. They live in rivers, like I said, and they are able to sing songs that lure people into the river so they can eat them. This empire has been expanding ever outward, and so another group of people we are following are on the other side of this conflict, and they hunt the Satatme. They call them the Drowned, and the Drowned are very, very a huge threat to them, to the point where there's actually this kind of whole society, this whole group or sect of society that are deaf. And they are deaf so that they are able to fight the Satatme without succumbing to their songs. And so everyone in this society is able to speak sign language, which I think is very, very cool. That's some cool representation we have there. And so we're following a warrior named Tessa, and she is really, really great. She's probably my favorite character. And also all of these deaf people, they fight with dogs. They have perfectly trained dogs, and I just really, really enjoyed that. This is maybe a slight spoiler, but when there are animal companions in a series, I want to know if they die or not. So skip maybe like 10 seconds, but basically her dog does not die. Just letting you know, because that would have really, really crushed me. The book was really, really great. The one problem I have with it is there is a woman whose name I can't remember. My memory's really failing me today. But there is a woman, she lives in the Empire of Songs. She's very, very high up, high ranked. And her chapter should have been chapter 1. I was kind of bored in the first couple chapters, but then her chapter rolled around and it was absolutely brilliant. So if you're kind of bored in the beginning of the book, wait until you get to her chapter. It really spices things up. I personally think it should have been the first one. So that was a 5-star book, like I said. Then I read The Hollow Empire by Sam Hawke, which is in the Poison Wars series. And this one, again, I was also very bored in the beginning, but then things got very, very interesting and very, very crazy. So we're following these two siblings, Joven and Kalina, and Joven has been the proofer, and he's the guy who protects the chancellor of their empire, of their country, from poisons. That's his job. And then Kalina is his sister. She's very, very sickly, but she's very, very strong-willed. And in the first book, there was essentially a threat from within, and it kind of sparked this huge conflict, and this conflict continues into the second book, but it takes on a different shape. And this book was actually fantastic. It was just a little slow in the beginning. Then I read The Fires of Vengeance, which is the sequel to Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I actually have a review of this. I'm going to get that edited and filmed. I'm going to get that edited and posted. But a kind of problem that I had with the first book was I thought it was good, but then I got very, very bitter about the book because I kept hearing people rave about it so emphatically, so enthusiastically, and I just kind of felt it wasn't deserved. But then I read book 2, and book 2 really is absolutely fantastic. So I definitely would actually recommend reading The Rage of Dragons. It's about this boy named Tao, and his father is killed in the beginning of book 1, and he is on a quest for vengeance. He's a little bit stupid in the first book, which was one of the things that annoyed me, but it's a very cool setting. It's African inspired, and they have super cool magic. There's basically this other realm called Isiogo, and in it, it's filled with demons. And so there are these people who are able to kind of go into that realm, and they have a shroud that protects them from the demons, but when that fails, they have to return back to their world. But while they're there, they're able to use magic powers to kind of enrage their troops or to actually summon dragons and stuff like that. So it's a super cool series. I kind of take back my bitterness about the first book. It is definitely good. But the second book is a big step up in my opinion, so that was 5 stars as well. Then there's a series by Rob J. Hayes that I just binged recently. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's called The War Eternal. The first book is called Along Razor's Edge, and it follows this girl and this guy, and they were kind of magical sorcerers for their empire. But their empire fell in the war, and so these two sorcerers are sent to a prison mine, and they basically have to escape from there. That's where the story starts. But it gets very, very cool as the series progresses. In this world, people are able to interact with kind of 22 different types of magic, but it depends what they're attuned to. And if they're attuned to it, they swallow something called a source, which is like a ball, and they swallow it. They are able to use magic until their body kind of rejects the source, and then they have to puke it up, which is not fun. Some of them can be very big, and you also have to hold like 5 of them in your stomach at once if you want to have access to all of your powers. So it seems kind of awful, but it's super, super cool, and things get very, very spicy as the series continues. All 3 books that I've read, I would give 5 stars to, but they're not super like complex, which is what I normally like. These are just like easy, bingeable, fun books that I really, really enjoyed. So I definitely recommend the series. I feel like it's probably not super popular, and I think that people should definitely check it out. And then the last book I want to talk about is one I just finished yesterday or the day before, and that is The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. So I actually have the first two books in the series. There's the Bone Season, and then the second book is called The Mime Order. The third is The Song Rising, and then I just read The Mask Falling that I finished the other day. And this is a super fun series. How do I describe this? Basically, it takes place in a near future London, like 30, 40 years from now. But history is a little bit different. There is this authoritarian government called Scion, and Scion, it began in London when these kind of extraterrestrial-ish beings, they're called Rephaim. They're very, very human-like, but they came to this world and they kind of took over. But they're hidden. People don't really know about them. And in this world, there are people called clairvoyants. They have all sorts of different powers. They're divided into kind of 7 different groups, and each of them can do different things involving kind of spirits, prophecy, and whatnot. And we're following a girl named Paige. She was from Ireland, but her father took her to London when she was very young, when Ireland fell to Scion. But she has to hide her powers, obviously. And in the beginning of the book, or slightly prior to the beginning of the book, she runs with a crew of other clairvoyants, and she has a very, very, very unusual power. She's called a dream walker, and so she is able to basically go into the realm of the ether, and she can sense all of the minds around her. And so with her powers, she can either jump into somebody else's dreamscape to literally possess their body, which is the superpower that I would have. I've always said that if I had a superpower, it would be transmigration, or just possessing people. I love that. But she can also kill them from that realm, or stun them, things like that. And in the beginning of the book, she gets arrested, she gets found out, and she gets sent to a penal colony called Shale 1, and that's where she learns about the Rephaim. The Rephaim basically use all of these clairvoyants to feed on. They get their energy by feeding on a clairvoyant's aura, and so she is basically living in this penal colony outside of London, and things go from there. This is obviously the 4th book in the series, so I can't talk a whole lot about it. But in this book, Paige actually makes it to France, which is still under Scion control. Scion, they have control of about 11 countries: Ireland, Scotland, England, France, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, and then like 4 others. And Paige is basically trying to lead a rebellion against the Empire of Scion. That's just the premise for the whole series. But book 4 really, really took things up a notch. It got very, very cool. We get to see Paige running through the catacombs of Paris, crawling through bones, trying to make it to Versailles. We basically see her having to deal with this authoritarian government police state. Police states are something that I absolutely love in fiction. This is just something I love to read about. And the book was absolutely fantastic. It's probably the best book that I've read so far this year. I gave it 5 stars, and I absolutely loved it. So, I've been recording for almost half an hour, so I am done. I ran through those books pretty quickly, as fast as I was able to. But that's what I've been reading recently. I know it's been quite a while since I checked in, but yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. Like I said, I will link all of the Malazan stuff down below in case you want to get some of these. I really, really, really think this is cool. I think everyone should have one of these. I really quite like this artist. And so, again, thank you, Mom. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.